Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to another edition of Know Your Charity. I'm your host, Luqman Shadrack. Now, the Seen to the Deaf and some of the challenged individuals in our society has been a cause that the organization Wagaah has dedicated their life's work for. And in studio, we'd like to catch up with them right now. First up, I'd like to welcome Sister Zarina. Assalamu alaikum, welcome.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thanks for having us.
You're welcome. And then Dr. Kasim Devet, assalamu alaikum, lovely to see you again.
Wa alaikum salam. Lovely to see you again as well. And shukran for doing the interview.
You're welcome. You're absolutely welcome. The cause and the projects that you've embarked on has been so humbling and amazing to see, to watch the organization grow and make a difference in the lives of those that are deaf. But for those that don't know too much about Wagaah, give us a brief overview and a history lesson on how this all came together.
Okay. In 1995, it was a Sheikh Nusra Qasim.
Mm-hmm.
He saw the Muslim kids walking from the special deaf school in Wynberg to the church. And this troubled him, and he thought, why are our kids going to the church? And he started making inquiries, and some of our stalwarts, there's a few of them left today. They assisted him, and they started the Wagaah Madrasa. It was called Oasis Madrasa for the deaf back in the day. And they shifted from Athlone Community Hall to the Masjid al-Salam, and from there we moved to Kalimo Road. We had an office there, and our classes were held at IPSA College for a number of years, until we finally found a home in the old Sarah Fox Children's Hospital, alhamdulillah. And there we continue with advocacy. So we've grown from a pure madrasa to an advocacy group, because we find that the deaf people are just simply forgotten.
Yes.
They're silent, they can't speak for themselves, and even when they do, we don't understand them. And this is why we've become an advocacy group. We open to all right now. Obviously, the madrasa runs on a Sunday. We cannot forget about that.
Right.
At the moment, we have a Montessori inclusive school. When I say inclusive of deaf. And it started about 2.5 years ago. And today we up to primary.
Wow.
And we intend, inshallah, to grow it to high school. And in the meantime, we're also starting with skills development. We already have a sewing room operating. We have completed a computer room. We just have to start the courses, and we're busy with an industrial kitchen.
Nice.
Because the deaf seems to want to cook, learn to cook, etc.
More of a skills environment.
Yes.
Okay.
And in addition to that, something that is very elemental to all of these things that we are doing is communication.
Okay.
And we have provided now a platform for people to come and learn to sign.
Okay.
Because prior to this, parents with deaf children, they struggle to find a place to go and learn to sign, which means most of them are unable to. Yes, you can gesture.
Right.
You know, do you want some food? Do you want to drink, etc. But to actually physically sign. So I have a deaf daughter, and when she became a teenager, then I found, before that we could manage, but then there's trouble in Wonderland, yeah? How do I communicate with this child? You know, and it's deep discussions now.
Of course.
So I had to learn to sign.
Okay.
So alhamdulillah, now it's our 12th official language in the country, and the deaf are now demanding their rights. They don't want to be silent anymore.
As they should have, you know, and they're part of society as well. It's so lovely hearing the history and where Wagaah has come as well. And I know Sister Zarina has been part of that for a number of years as well. Tell us about some of the wonderful projects that you've managed to embark on over the last couple of years.
Alhamdulillah, yes. I have been a volunteer for Wagaah for the past 22 years. And my colleague here, he's been there 30 years.
Alhamdulillah.
So alhamdulillah, we're going to be 30 years old on the 25th of July.
Nice.
It's quite a milestone for us, because our aims and objectives are always to improve the lives of deaf people.
Of course.
Yes, we are an advocacy group, and we want them to live as normal a life as possibly can. So there is a lot of projects that we have embarked on. Like Doc said, the sewing room and the kitchen but there's also other things that we have done. We are trying very hard for inclusivity with our deaf. So I started a deaf awareness program where we booked the massages for a Jum'ah. We then take Doc with. He talks about the plight and challenges of deaf people in the masjid. We have, for the first time in the history of South Africa, a sign language interpreter in the masjid.
Nice.
To explain to the deaf that is present there. And then we have a mu'adhin that has never heard the adhan, that renders the adhan.
Amazing.
And that is normally the icebreaker. That is the highlight of our project. Yes, we've been doing that. We then added on now schools, madaris, preschools, high schools, colleges, because it's all about the awareness.
Of course.
And we've learned through the masjid program, Luqman, that when the people go home after Jummah, they sit at the lunch table and they tell their family, today there was something different in the masjid. So that is how the whole family now knows that about Al-Wagaah, and it's all about knowing who Al-Wagaah is and what we do.
Of course. Doc, what's been the most significant steps that you've taken in the last 30 years? Where do you feel 30 years ago that you thought this would never happen, but it actually did materialize?
Can I just come in? I think the Umrah.
Yes, so I was going to start with the Umrah. So Rina
I
was
thought you was gonna
talking
forget about
no, that was one of the projects. Right? In 2019, we took 60 deaf people on Umrah.
Amazing.
And that was the largest deaf group in the world who ever traveled to Makkah and Medina, alhamdulillah. And we were welcomed there by a charity group, and they were looking after us. And some South Africans who's been living there. We just had a wonderful time. One of the highlights of the Umrah was that the males and the females were given the opportunity to go into the Roda alone.
Wow.
So it was cleared out, and then we all went in there. So the deaf felt very special. The other things that we were able to, one of the things I thought we would never achieve was to have deaf people learn the Quran and recite the Quran.
Mashallah.
Since we've come back from Umrah, so we met a deaf group there as well, we've learned that they can actually sign the Quran.
Wow.
And now we are busy teaching them that. And I mean, you can just about imagine how that makes you feel. That you are, people that we otherwise would have thought would never be able to recite are now learning to recite it by using sign language. To me, those are the biggest ones. And the fact that we were able to obtain this premises as a home so central to most communities. You remember, the deaf community comes from all over the metropole. And to have that particular premises specifically, you know, that we could get to, it was out of our reach, and then it became ours all of a sudden. And there we are. So that was also a milestone for us.
Okay.
Can I just
You
add,
often
Luqman?
speak about it being an advocacy group.
Yes.
Yes.
And getting the message out is very important, and you've done, you know, various steps to infiltrate communities as well. Do you find that communities are wanting more to learn about deaf awareness?
Yes, because when we go, say for instance, I go to a school, they would want me to go to the other schools in the area.
Okay.
If I go to a company, then they want to send their colleagues at the other branches. I need to go there and talk about the deaf. So the hearing people are hungry, specifically now that it's a 12th official language.
Yeah.
It has become something that people want. And they welcome us very warmly most of the time, because it's always interesting to see how the children react when we start, because I normally teach them the alphabet in sign language as just an icebreaker, because then you can see they're all confused, and they come to me and say, teacher, please tell me how do I sign my name? So I'm busy signing their names for them, teaching them how to sign. But I must say, every deaf awareness that we have done so far has been extremely successful.
Well, because I've seen some of the campaigns that you guys have run, been at markets or been at
Yes.
events, and you know your booth is always full because people want to know more. As you say, being the 12th official language, but also people want to be inclusive. You know, I think as South Africans,
Yeah.
do you find that's the case, Doc?
Yes, I think they want to. It's a feel-good thing. The one problem that we do have, though, is that because deaf people are silent and there's no communication between the two, they are not being heard in general. So we've reached quite a large part of the community. And we're just trying to find ways to reach the rest of the community.
And it's also that stigma. I mean, years ago it used to be called deaf and dumb.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you know, and that stigma of the word dumb
Yes.
needs, I mean, that's where the advocacy comes in.
No, we rectify that immediately now.
Alhamdulillah.
We
Alhamdulillah.
say a sister, brother,
Yes.
they are deaf.
Yeah.
We don't use the word dumb anymore.
Absolutely, but you see, it's engrossed in us from
Yes.
a young age.
is.
Yeah.
Us
Agreed.
that's, you know, this
Agreed.
age, and that's where the challenges come in. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to give you, the viewer, a little more information on how you can get involved and assist this organisation that does wonderful work in our communities. This is Know Your Charity. I'm your host, Luqman Shadrack. Assalamu alaikum, welcome back to Know Your Charity. In studio today we have the organisation Wagaah, who assists the various challenges that deaf people face in our country and especially in our beautiful city, Cape Town. Doc and Serena, jazakallah so much for coming in and sharing wonderful information about the work that you've done. But currently, where are we at Wagaah? Give us a status update and give our viewers a little bit more information about some of the current projects that you have on the go.
Yeah, so part of our advocacy is to try and empower the deaf. One of the issues that they have is that they are assigned to deaf special schools.
Yes, yes.
Now
yes.
that on its own entrenches isolation and marginalization, right? That's the only place you can go to.
Yeah.
So we want to start at grassroots level and have an inclusive school, which we have established already, and growing it, as I said, maybe in the next 3 or 4 years, inshallah, to high school. And it's Montessori because they don't do well in your mainstream classroom because the teacher is not aware of it,
Yeah.
turns
But they're also
around.
not equipped.
They're not equipped, yes. So that is what we're currently busy with. But now there's a whole host of young people and adults who has missed the education bus. You must remember that most,
Right, yes.
yeah, the most deaf people, adults and young people, they come from that era where they were taught to use verbal language, and that left them virtually illiterate in a spoken and a written language. So it's even deeper than what we think. It's not just a question of pulling a guy in, give him a job, and off he goes.
Yeah.
So one, sign language is key, which we've done. We have 2 courses every year,
Okay.
10-week courses, which includes training youngsters and ulama to interpret in their precinct. We want to have more interpreters in the masajid and for other events. In addition, the youngsters, we do skills development training now.
Okay.
So we don't just want to give them a course and off you go and they do nothing with it. We want to mentor them. And this is the reason why we have a sewing class, we have the computer lab, and the kitchen that we're busy building. And then we want to do woodworking and welding as well.
Okay.
So we want to train them and try and establish a business for them and take their goods to the market.
Inshallah. Tell us about the madrasa. I mean, that's very interesting. How did that come about? What inspired you guys to get that
Look,
project
they
going?
all came from the Catholic school.
Okay.
So they had the belief that Nabi Isa was God.
Right.
And if you ask them, they would sign that Jesus, the hand signals, was God. And that we needed to change because we needed to introduce the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And the only thing to do that was via the madrasa. And we needed to cultivate a love for him. because they didn't know him. They knew Jesus as a God, you know. And that is also one of the reasons why we took them to Mecca and Medina. We wanted them to see where he lived, where he died, Mecca, Medina, and the association that Nabi had with the kingdom. So that worked out perfectly well, alhamdulillah. We're very pleased that we could do that. But at the end of the day, we want them to understand,
Of course.
the deen of Islam, because just recently they found out what the Miraj was all about. The Miraj and the Isra, and they cried. They said they never knew that the Nabi went into this onto the Isra, and it was a sad day, because they're old people. They're 15, 16 years old, and they never knew what the meaning of the Isra and the Miraj was.
I think it's the progression of your, and the work that you guys have put in as well to allow people to know a bit more as well. What are the current obstacles right now at Wagaah?
Current obstacles is finance. That's number one. We're an NGO. We rely on the community to assist financially with skills. When we bought the place, it was run down. It was demolished. It was bad, and so we need people to assist in that way. Those kind of skills, legal skills, accountancy skills, and of course financial. We still have to pay for this premises, right? And we need to run this organization. We have a lot of volunteers, we put a lot of hours in, but sometimes you have to pay people for the work they do to get that commitment from them. In addition to that, we have to reach parents of deaf children to indicate to them that there is an alternative to special deaf ed, inclusive education. When deaf people and hearing people grow up together, they don't see the difference, and they learn to communicate. If I ask you to learn sign language, you may frown and say, oh, do I have the time? Can I do this? Is my fingers versatile enough? But youngsters don't have that need. They just soak it all up like a sponge, right? So that's one thing, one obstacle we have. And the other obstacle is the constant issue of being lost in the queue, because hearing people do not see deafness. You see a person with a stick, they're blind shame. There's somebody in a wheelchair, but deafness you don't physically see.
Of course. Sister Tamina, what's your message to the audience watching this interview of how they could assist with Wagaah?
In order for us to have continuity, we are going to need the community to come forward and help us. We have a debt of 3.75 million that we need to pay urgently. And if we cannot meet that, then we will be without, the Wagaah will just disintegrate. We have a beautiful 7.7 thousand square meters of property, which we can develop into wonderful things. But we first need to pay, the priority is to pay for the building. And that is where we are asking for help. So that we can continue.
How many people do we actually house in that building at the moment on a daily basis from the projects that you have?
Anything close to 100. Yeah. There's
so
people coming in.
100 people that are directly affected.
100 people that's directly affected. That's the school, all the classes, all of those, the admin, the employees, the cleaners. All of those.
How do people get hold of you if they would like to contribute in whatever level?
We are on the social media platforms. We have all the Facebook, we have all of those things, so you can contact us. We have a website as well. You can go onto our website and you can reach us there. Other than that, give us a call. We'll come and run and see how we can help you.
Dr. Kasim, the organization, as Sister says, it's dire. We need to reach out for donors and help. What are the benefits of them contributing towards an organization like Wagaah?
As I said before, the benefits would be exactly the same as if you donated to have a masjid built. Because this is education of a community that has been oppressed and marginalized. When you talk about oppression, you think about apartheid, etc. But at the end of the day, we have a community that has been oppressed. Especially today, during Ramadan, you still have deaf people sitting in their homes, being isolated. They can't hear the adhan, they can't hear the qiraat, they can't hear the tarawih. Even when they make salah, they have to specially look up to see where the people are getting up already.
Right.
Because they can't hear, the announcement being made. So they are the forgotten people right in our homes, right outside there. And even today, with all the advocacy that we do, it is still the same. It has made a little dent, but we would like to reach out. So we believe that when a person gives the sadaqah and zakat to Wagaah, they will get the same reward that they would get if they were building a masjid, for example.
Right.
Because we use it to educate marginalized people who otherwise are not being assisted. We're the only madrasa still, after 30 years, the only inclusive school for the deaf, the only place where people can come and do, there are people who do sign language, but ad hoc. We have it constantly going on. The madrasa alone house 85 people on a Sunday.
Sure.
Right? And we have to transport them in and out.
Right,
because
right.
we're not a community school.
Right.
So I want people to understand.
And that bill is 19,200
Sure.
to
Per
count
month.
per month.
So their reward is the same as if you were feeding people or assisting a old age home or an orphanage. It's exactly the same. I would like to invite anybody to come along. We've always been inviting people. Come along and have a look and see. Okay. Once you see it, because you can't hear it, right? Once you see it, then you will understand why this is so dear to our heart.
Of course. Jazakallah so much for coming into studio. Inshallah, people watching this video and this interview will get hold of you and contribute so that the longevity of the organization can continue, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Shukran, Luqman,
Shukran.
and Hilaal TV
You're
for
welcome.
the opportunity.
You're welcome. And there we go. That is Wagaah. If you can contribute and make a difference, do get hold of them and reach out to all your contacts and ask them to contribute where they can as well. For Know Your Charity, I'm Luqman Shadrack.